O Lord, open our ears to hear your words of love. Amen. From Psalm 27. When my father and my mother forsake me, the Lord gathers me up. The many Bible texts chosen for today's Sunday lectionary evoke strife, contest, enemies, and victory or defeat. The famous Psalm 27 is an example. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom then shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom then shall I be afraid? We just heard the choir sing Psalm 27. But one verse in that psalm, our psalm's central verse 14, cites no contest. It evokes general danger without a simple adversary. When my father and my mother forsake me, the Lord gathers me up. The Hebrew verb reads Adonai Ya'aseni. The Lord gathers me up. The great Japanese poet Matsuo Basho was his country's most famous haiku writer. Basho's poetry is internationally renowned, and in Japan, many of his poems are reproduced on monuments and traditional sites. In 1685, the winter after his own mother died, at 41 years old, Basho began several long wanderings through wild and desolate country. Gradually, he grew accustomed to walking alone, but at first he feared he could be killed by bandits. And one famous encounter happened near the start. Walking along the Fuji riverbanks, Basho came across a very young child, abandoned and crying by the roadside. How or why abandoned, he did not know, and the child was too small to tell. Within a short while, Basho tossed him a little packet of food from his knapsack and went on with his journey. Could that child feed himself? Possibly not. And very probably the child was eaten that night by wild forest animals, like other small, slow-moving creatures. When the poet published his travels a year later, you may expect that Japanese literature launched broad discussion about what the famous teacher Basho had done for that infant, or should have done, or could have done. In any case, he did not gather the child up, but went on with his journey alone. What inner thoughts he had, he did not repeat for us. Yet the encounter was moving enough for him to recall and retell, as many others were not. Child abandonment is a greater danger than you may think. My husband is an 8-year volunteer chaplain at San Quentin State Prison. He reckons that 95% of the prison inmates have suffered abandonment and child abuse, including physical abuse and sexual abuse. 95%. And the abandonment of homosexual children is commonplace even today. The anger those children feel roots itself deep in each heart, blocking and defeating efforts to correct their adult behavior. As law courts and penitentiaries know too well, our most resistant evil habits begin with childhood experience. So, of course, we do try to overcome evil, thoughtful formation, so far as we can empathize with it. But our course is tough. Sigmund Freud adopted the name empathy, in German Einfühlung, for our ability to feel other people's joys and sorrows as if they were our own, by putting ourselves in their place. Empathy enables me to feel beyond my own narrow story and share with people whose life stories differ from mine. Moral teaching is impossible without it. And for Freud, this was a crucial professional skill because a purely intellectual understanding of a patient's problems was insufficient. He argued that empathy allowed clinicians to move beyond objective observations and delve into the subjective realm of a patient's inward experience. Because of empathy, the ancient psalmist could choose this single wrong of abandonment to stand in for every wrong, whether in her ancient century or ours. Here we may imagine that a father and mother have left off their responsibility to care for children who will grow up lonely, unguided, and endangered. Virtually every human being can empathize, whatever their own family experience has been. Every modern parent can empathize too, imagining how their own offspring would respond to abandonment. Many parents today have wondered about this sooner or later. But the Lord supplies what is missing. The Lord gathers the people up like a hen gathering her own chicks, teaching them how to live and survive so many dangers. That is why they can face conflict with confidence, as the Psalm's other verses say. Once gathered up, people are never alone and need never be afraid. Whom then shall they fear? My husband's prison class in anger management begins each daily session asking, "What made you angry today, and how did you handle it?" Year after year, a certain client said to the group, "I am always angry." But one day after his class had ended, he returned for a special interview. "I am no longer angry today. I found God in my heart, and I made peace with my struggle." My husband reports, "It was a miracle. In all my chaplaincy, no one ever made such a change." Today, of course, legal reform is only one place where we can improve our institutions and relationships. Freud reckoned that empathy was essential for all beneficial human intercourse. We may imagine what might result if all our children had a secure experience of gathering up, if everyone knew how sharing other people's acceptance could alter their daily experience. Yet it seems the jury is still out on that one. Elon Musk declares that the chief weakness of liberal societies is empathy. And isn't he the richest man in the world?